Hello, everyone. We're back again with another episode of The Obscure Arc, our lovely anime podcast. This is going to be episode 3, and my name is Emre. I'm here with my co-host, Jared. How you doing, Jared?
Good. Another month of a lot of anime.
Yep.
I've also been pretty busy with playing Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake. Go buy Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake. I will say that more than once this podcast. But yeah, it's been good so far. This anime this month has been really good. It's been very much a treat. Like honestly, it's been such a. Even though I've rewatched my Forced Watch like kind of recently, rewatching it again is just like I have such this like passion for telling people to rewatch the stuff they love because it kind of like reinforces your foundation of what really makes your taste come together. And I think my Forced Watch of this week is just like everything that I love about that.
He loves this show, y'all.
We literally planned for this section of the Forced Watch to be longer than usual, and there's very good reason. I'm not going to shut up for a lot.
And I will join the ride with him because this time around, it was actually really fun. And it's technically one of my I don't usually do genres too.
Sure, technically.
So,
by all technical terms, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's just get right into it. So my
Yep.
Forced Watch of this week was 86. And yes, I know looking up 86 is a very annoying term to look up on anime. Some people have to type in 86 the numbers and then spell it out. It's very annoying. But
Which, weirdly enough, they use both.
yeah, they do.
The official title is like 86 written in letters and then 86 in numbers right next to it.
Yeah, the show uses a lot of English too, which
Yeah.
is a bit interesting. There's a lot of the taste of it. But 86 was produced by A1 Pictures. That's going to be a lot of my Forced Watches. I hate to say it. It's based on a light novel by Asato Asato, which if you don't know anything about, if you haven't read 86, that's all they've done. 86 won a novel prize called the Dengeki Novel Prize and has done really well. Like, really, really, really well. It's like the top selling light novel in a couple of like countries. It does super well. It's like on for Mal, it's like one of the top light novels, both in popularity and in score. The music is done by, if we've basically in every episode gone over like one of my favorite composers, and we're gonna hit the third one, which is Sawano Hiroyuki. It's
Yep.
also done by Kota Yamamoto, who, from what I've looked into, has basically been like an assist, like a secondary composer to a lot of Sawano's works.
Yep.
But Sawano, if you don't know him, has done Attack on Titan, Solo Leveling, and like 7 Deadly Sins. So he does really big shows, really big action shows, and he does a lot of real epic anime pieces. The director is Toshimasa Ichi, who, like most directors in the anime industry, was mainly doing storyboarding and some episode directing here and there. This is his first big debut as an anime director, like for a show in itself. And you can watch this on Crunchyroll or, again, wherever you can find it.
True. By your own means.
And so I got some feedback from a friend that we should do a little bit more describing of this, because I think a lot of these shows, if we kind of just jump into it, but I do want to build up these shows a bit more if you've had literally no chance to watch it and not heard about it at all. I highly recommend watching the shows each month and following along, because I think that's the best way to enjoy it. But it's also a lot of fucking anime. So to kick things off with 86, it's really just your typical war, injustice, mecha anime. I think a lot of people will like it for the action and overarching plots and really cool designs, but while it has all of those things, it's really not about all of that. It's really about the characters, their highs and lows, every moment of loss and heartbreak, like the little celebrations in the tragedy is what makes 86. To me, 86 is a triumph in anime production and never lets like its core values of characters being the most important thing like escape it. 86's genre's kind of mecha. It's like
It's mecha.
it's mecha, but it's not really mecha.
Yeah, so I mentioned this on the first episode. I do not have the most vast portfolio when it comes to watching mecha. Yet.
Yeah.
we all know that there are like certain like almost cliche things about mecha, like when it comes to mecha shows and what happens and like the tropes in a sense. 86 does a good job avoiding those real like common tropes in a sense.
Yeah.
So there are robots and there are pilots, but it's by no means like your Gundam or anything of that sorts in terms of being a mecha.
It's a lot more of a war anime. It's
Yeah.
like closer to Attack on Titan and Code Geass. But even though those are probably slightly, I would argue Attack on Titan's actually more mecha than 86, weirdly enough, which we've had a whole discussion about this.
Yeah.
Which I think is true. But it has this kind of like half Victorian look and then half like hella super futuristic sci-fi type look that goes with it, but a bit of like AOT, Walden City type stuff and, dystopian sci-fi future. You can call 86 a mecha. Like, I really do think you can call it an 86 a mecha, but I think it's a lot easier and probably more useful to describe it as a sci-fi war anime. Like, I think it's a more useful way to talk about it.
No, I can definitely see both having a part within the list of themes and genres.
Yeah, it's definitely like a large part of it is mecha in terms of inspiration, which we'll talk about, but at the same time, it doesn't rely on it in the same way as like other mechas do. And when it comes to art and like production value, like we might be talking about like, I think this is Giga Peak Ultra Cinema. Like,
okay, good thing you said production value because we did kind of skip on the sound director, which I don't want to skip for this show.
No, yeah.
Because he paid attention, man. He paid like the whole cast. Everyone who did sound on 86. Fabulous. Excellent work. For the director, his name is Aketagawa Jin. And props to him. Other works you might know him from as a sound director is a fan favorite, ReZero. Not necessarily a fan favorite, but certainly has a own fan base to it. No Game, No Life.
Yep.
Definitely on the top comedy list of a lot of anime watchers out there, Toradora.
Yep.
And then a lot of like a ton more different stuff that people watch all over the place. Dr. Stone, Kaguya-sama, Food Wars. Like he did a lot of sound designs and he peaks at 86.
I've watched a lot of the anime you mentioned and they're generally pretty aggressive. 86's sound design is like
it's thoughtful.
Yeah, it's like, thoughtful. It's not like overpowering, but it's very present. It's really, really conscious in a lot of decisions they make.
Exactly. It in a lot of shows that I mentioned, it almost takes the attention to make a point. Whereas in 86, as far as sound design goes, it supports what's going on the screen.
What I think 86 does that allows it is it's such a rich environment the whole time that even a very aggressive sound design does not overwhelm the screen because there's a lot going on in a lot of these shots and a lot going on narratively. And speaking of a lot going on, so when 86 came out, I didn't watch it immediately. I probably watched the show. I've rewatched it about 4 times at this point,
Nice.
like full all the way through. Like every episode, like not really skipping, fully paying attention. And it released in like 2021 spring, and I watched it about 2023. The reason I didn't watch it right when it came out was because I just want to say 2021 spring was maybe one of the most bonkers fucking anime seasons of all time. So, to give you an idea of what came out during that season, let's list them off. And editor me is going to hate this. Tokyo Revengers, My Hero Season 5, To Your Eternity, 86, as I mentioned. Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. Fruits Basket, The Final Season. Odd Taxi. And then finishing in the season beforehand, which is also very important because these seasons like overlapped a little. was Attack on Titan final season.
Oh yeah.
Horimiya, Jobless Reincarnation season 1. Dr. Stone,
Dang, yeah,
Reincarnation
I
of a
forgot.
Slime, ReZero season 2, Promise Neverland season 2, Wonder Egg Priority,
Dude, I forgot all of those aligned.
and Skates,
It's
and Beastar season 2. So
crazy.
that season was so bad. And I'm leaving off one show in particular because there's only one other show I might hold over 86. I don't probably, but I might. Is Link Click, which is, we will talk about it at some point. I will not talk about Link Click because I will not shut up about it. But this show had so much going on in that season, and I think a lot of people missed it. Like, I think most anime fans who are like really into anime know about 86.
Yeah, we like even I did when you recommended it, but like
It's very easy to have skipped over.
Yeah.
Like for a lot of people because
Dude.
its marketing wasn't amazing from what I'm aware of. Unless you're really following the light novel scene, it wasn't based off of manga, so that kind of hurts certain like people. It wasn't in the right spot to succeed, but holy fuck is it so good. So as someone who is a like deep fan of 86, I want to know someone who kind of came into it relatively knowing that I liked it, but relatively like there's not much to know about 86 before you go into it, right? It's not like a big like expansive world that like, you know, it's not like a shonen. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
yeah. I'm thinking like I definitely heard about 86 before. Was I expecting what it is? No. Like watching the show, kind of knowing it was good because you talked about it so much. Without spoilers, obviously, but like praising it, like its production value, like the story, writing, which you're really picky on. And even for this, I know like you have some points which I agree you're like could have been better, but still going into it, this was everything I wanted and nothing I expected, if that makes sense. Which was a pleasant surprise. Kind of gonna roll into the anime from here on. So you gotta be. Anyways, so watching the anime, I was, since it was a mecha,
Yes.
that was on purpose because in my head it was actually a mecha, and I was like, oh, okay, like he's forcing me to watch a mecha. Nice. Even though it's good, I'm like, you know, I wasn't enthusiastic about it. I started watching it, I think literally within the first 2 episodes, man. The way they introduced Shin or the headless Reaper, I guess. And how they kind of laid out the foundation, the empire and their relationship with 86 and all that folk. I was like, okay, this is real. Like,
Yeah.
this is not like, because you got a lot of animes out there and you're like, it's a fun premise, you know, it's like, interesting. How did they think about this? Like 86 hits you with reality from the get-go.
86 is like it. A lot of what I don't like about 86 is its lack of subtlety, but it's also a very important part about establishing in the show. Like 86 lacks subtlety within the first 3 episodes. Like, okay, guys, the show is called 86, which 86 means to like cancel or kill something. Like, we get it, and we get what this show is about. It's about war, and it's about like child soldiers and all this stuff. But like, you know, and it's got very clear like, you know, white hair, like, you know, blue eyes, like, you know, that type of thing going on, and it's so in your face about it that I think for some people it can be a bit much. However, once you kind of like sink into the whole world and feel the depth of it, like I don't think that it's just about how on the like, I think how hard hitting it is very important about it, but it's because of the depth that you can sink into it is what makes it so good. Like for me, 86 is a very big world. And you don't always get the chance to explore it, but the most important thing is that in that big world, there's a lot of people and a lot of people you care about. Like the depth of cast in this show is incredibly high. It's really hard to not get attached to these characters. Like not only from just like a writing perspective, but a very deep voice acting level. Like every single voice actor sounds like they could be a main character. Like very seriously,
Dude, they don't hold back.
it's insane.
And we'll roll into more details when we get into the spoiler section, but like some stuff hits you hard in terms of like so-called side characters and what they do and what the story does for them in a sense.
And I think a lot of what is interesting about 86 in comparison to other anime productions specifically related to this is that it's based off of a light novel. So there's a certain level of freedom. I talked about it last episode with Dororo, where Dororo is very clearly like almost based off the panels. Whereas with 86, you don't really have panels to live off of, which can make it harder to find your rhythm. But if you find the style you want, you can do so many more creative things. And like that's really what makes 86's like, that's what makes its money. That's what makes it so different than other anime, is that it has a certain level of freedom and, dare I say, like cinematic feeling more so than other even action anime. Like I think people will tell me that Attack on Titan is very cinematic, but when you compare it to like 86, I think there is a large gap in terms of what you're feeling and what you're experiencing.
So I'd compare that example in the sense that Attack on Titan is a cinematic anime, but the reason why it's cinematic is it has like this gigantic scaled, really big moments with flashy like arts and scenes, right? I feel like the cinematic feel 86 catches is not because of those, which it has, but it's not because of those gigantic, like flashy, crazy big scenes. It's like the subtle detail they include when changing angles and cutting the different moments and literally introducing other characters. Like it actually feels like a movie, like we are watching into the world.
Yeah, I think one thing that really separates 86 from a lot of other shows, which it's going to sound minute if you've never seen 86, but it's its montages. Yeah. 86's montages are better than most montages of like most professional mediums. How effectively it uses them, and keep in mind, a lot of montages in anime that are based off of manga are low-key like money-saving techniques. And it's usually like taking a lot of panels and compressing them into one thing, and it feels necessary to do. 86 is not based off of a manga, and it's using them in such a creative way of how it makes this... It gives such a holistic feel to the time that a lot of these characters have spent with each other, like how the 86 feel with each other, and how basically their entire journey has so many ups and downs. I'm going to say that we're going to have basically 2 spoiler sections for this, because 86 is impossible to talk about without talking about spoilers, because, I mean, a large part of this podcast for me is I want to encourage people to be willing to listen and talk about spoilers and still enjoy media. I can guarantee you, as a person who is in love with 86, the spoilers will not ruin it for you. It may affect certain things, but I do truly believe that the artistry is so well done that you will enjoy it no matter what. I don't think you can experience it just by someone telling you.
And then, to be honest, like, we pay attention to a lot of things, especially now since we're watching a lot of shows for the podcast, and we talk about all these different parameters about like production values and like everything you can, and we talk. But even then, paying that much attention, there's so much detail that, yes, we will mention some stuff, but then there's going to be a bunch of stuff that we still don't mention, and even we missed. Probably even he missed, because there's a lot of thing going on, like thousands of stuff going on. Like,
so part 1 is going to be season 1 or season 1 is part 1 in the anime. It's the first 11 episodes, I believe.
Yeah.
And one thing to note is that this is the first book of 86, and 86 was actually a fully standalone book. It won an award, and then Asato decided to come back to it, which season 2 comprises of book 2 and book 3. But season 1 or part 1 is its own isolated story technically. So a lot of the pacing in it is going to feel very concise and actually very intentional. And the thing about part 1 that is so effective is the deaths. People talk about deaths in like Attack on Titan, or people talk about deaths in like, I don't know, any of these other shonen animes or things like that. 86's deaths of minor characters that you know are going to probably die really, really hurts so bad. Like, it is insane. It starts with episode 3 with Kaie, where it's literally called I Don't Want to Die. And it brings out the whole premise of kind of the show and the nature of loss. And I think the thing that makes 86 so good there is that I think another show would have jerked off the sadness of it, basically, have been like, oh my God, it's so sad that Kaie is dead. The thing they do right after is they go with Theo having conflicts with Lena. And
you're having a throwback to Dororo.
Well, yeah, it's like the difference as opposed to being like, oh my God, it's so sad, so terrible. It's it's not just about death being sad. It's more than that. There's a deeper experience to just sadness. It's conflict. It's how it drives you, how it changes you as a person. And I think Theo is such an important character to the show because he introduces interpersonal conflicts so early on. And I think there's a lot of people who might dislike him because of that, but without Theo, you won't really get the same resolve out of a lot of these characters.
Okay. I'm thinking about that. I guess.
Because to me, I think out of the, let's just say it, the surviving parts of the Spearhead Squadron, he drives the story the most outside of Shin. I think in a way he is so important to Lena's growth, and I think he's very important to a lot of the other Spearhead survivors' growth.
Yeah, I almost think Theo as like I don't know why, more like a smaller sibling.
He is. He gives a lot of that energy.
And he definitely drives the story. I don't know if I agree to the part where like he is the catalyst to their like to them maturing.
I don't think he's the only aspect of it. I just think out of the remaining Spearhead survivors, in terms of what he does for Lena and in part Shin,
I can tell this though, regardless of him supporting the maturing process, he certainly does become a voice of everyone's thoughts, especially when he does it for the first time. And then continuing on so too, though. It's like he always speaks up what everyone else thinks in their head, and that is like that driving force that you also mentioned, I guess. Like, I don't know if that also affects maturity of the characters. I feel like it's more deaths of other people than Theo, but he sure most certainly does like create that snowball effect in a sense.
I think the Spearhead like survivors group, like the 86, their dynamic is so pure and wonderful and great, but I think
it's like a whole family.
Yeah, but there is enough internal conflict in the characters that it causes them to not always like fully get along. Like there are slight like, yes, Shin is the leader, yes, they will follow him, but when they see Shin do certain things, they can't agree with it, and like they all have their own resolve that I think makes them who they are. And I think that separates a lot of characters who might just blindly follow Shin and treat him like, oh, main character does main character thing. That's really what separates the 86 cast from a lot of other characters.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't. It very vividly gives you the feeling that, okay, these character like follow Shin, the main character, because they have their own reasons, because they understand what he's chasing, and because they choose to do so. Whereas in a lot of animes out there, like they follow the main character because he's the main character.
Yeah,
You
of
know?
course. Yeah.
It's like almost like a plot armor kind of dynamic going on there. Like in 8D6, they do create that feeling of they actually choose to do so and elaborate on why they actually did.
Yeah, and I think something that's really special about 86 in particular is also partially because it's like a heavy military anime, is there's a military anime, is that there's such a strong dichotomy with all of the characters of kind of who they are in their war, kind of serious, like, you know, life or death context, and who they are just as a person. Like, we see that expressed a lot, even very early on with 86 when they're kind of having fun, like, you know, messing around with each other like kids. And then the second it will jump cut right back to war, like, boom, instantly after just like a fun little moment.
Yeah.
And I think what makes 86 so good is it doesn't try to say one or the other is better. They're both, right? They're both, like, the way spoilers, I wrote a review about this anime. Please go check it out on my blog, Lights Off Shower Thoughts. It's great. It's probably my favorite review of an anime I've written about. But it's like the difference between like Lena.
Not Chainsaw Man, no.
I think my Chainsaw Man like review is decent. I think,
Yeah.
but it was one, like the first one I made in like on like my website, so it was like not very polished. But I did have a lot to say about Chainsaw Man. But the thing that's like is like the difference between like Lena and Handler 1. Those are two different people, right?
Oh, they
like
are.
Handler 1 is someone who has a different type of resolve than Lena. They both have resolves and they're both the same person, but how they interact with each other is very different. Like, you know, Lena doesn't go and like, you know, shoot off the mortars. That's Handler 1. And like with Shin, it's like the difference between like, you know, the Undertaker and Shin. Like Shin desperately wants a lot of things, but he kind of relies on his Undertaker part to suppress that, and so he can navigate the world. Which
Yeah.
we'll talk more about Shin specifically when we get to part 2 spoilers in a second. But a lot of what makes 86 so good is that these characters have a dichotomy and a depth to them that you want to explore.
Yep. And well, not spoilers, but like that depth is not necessarily limited to actual living beings.
Dude, okay. So there is Fido's montage, which I will just call Fido's montage. I
Yeah.
will not go into any further. It destroyed me. I fell on my knees. I fell on my knees twice. I fell on my knees for Daya, and I fell on my knees for Fido. And that was within just the first season.
Yeah. Daya, whatever, Fido. Fido.
It's how they frame it. It's how they pace it. They do a lot of really nice, fast cuts,
Yeah.
but then take its time in places that it's necessary. And it's so well thought out. Like the thing that's crazy to tell people is like, remember, this came from a light novel, right? Like the way it's presented is not the same in the slightest.
That's the thing. Like the vision, the actual studio, and obviously like the artists, like everyone who did anything visual, because like yes, there are like arts in light novels as well, but it's super limited. Like it's cover art, and then sometimes
Like every 50
like
pages.
yeah, like some almost something like a fan art or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's really limited. So like they really got behind the idea and the concept of this, and they executed perfection. Like some stuff, I don't know how much should I jump, but like some stuff, some montages and like some background things that happen, I'm like, the fact that they thought about doing this while producing the anime and not seeing it from a source is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's a very distinct and clear, like, they're making a very deliberate choice here. They're not just
Yeah.
doing something. It's so easy to see anime that's very clocked in.
Yeah.
Right? Doing what makes sense, the standard choice. 86 never shies away from that. And part of it is, like, Sawano, I think, also is a large part of it as well. Like,
Yeah.
Sawano uses a lot of vocal songs in general, but in 86, it's insane how many vocal songs he uses.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's a lot. Like, Hands Up to the Sky, Oh my god! My roommates got very sick and tired of me because I would listen to it in the shower all the time, and it was just
Let's
like,
go.
oh, it's such a good song. But there's so much like depth of emotion into it because of these deliberate decisions. That's like it's making a lot of these scenes like blossom into something so much more than just what it is. You know, like on the paper, on the text, it says one thing, but how do you make someone feel that in the way you want them to? And that's what 86 excels at.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and just to add, like if you watched just so you all can understand what we're talking about when it comes to the music and vocals, I'm assuming a lot of people who listen to this podcast did watch some Attack on Titan, and there are like some really iconic to the point where it just dominates social media scenes in Attack on Titan, like musics. One of them being Irvin's attacking scene and stuff like that. Like that type of music, like it's there within that scale too. Like
Now imagine that, but with good character writing.
my, don't go that late right now.
Okay, but to get into the good character
Yeah,
writing,
yeah, exactly.
limiting and talking about part one is one thing. And I think that talking about part one is great and it's wonderful. But talking about part two is actually what makes 86 so different. Because part one, it feels like,
Yeah.
wow, this is so concise. They're so deliberate. They're very cinematic. But part two is like, it takes a lot of restraint. It understands what it wants to do in its entirety. Because you have to remember, this is Asato coming back to these characters after a couple years.
Yeah,
A couple years, and then deciding, okay, well, let's try to do something with them and feel like giving them a second chance and understanding that their stories aren't finished. And like, who are these characters? Like a bad show might just be like, they need more action, do cool things, they need to level up, quote unquote.
yeah,
The time that they spend in the Federation is so valuable to understand who they are and what they want. That slowdown is so intentional by Asato that it really reveals so much about like what they are.
and I'll tell this much: completing like season one, those like first 11 episodes, and then kind of going further and like starting watching the next season or part, I guess. Like I was like, what are they gonna do? You know, like
It feels very finished.
I was like, oh, are they just gonna milk it now? Like, you know what I mean? Because you see that a lot in anime scene as well. So I'm like, are they just gonna go the classic route and like almost like a shonen-esque kind of way? You know, like main character will fail once again, and then he will overcome that hardship and like, yay, and like, no. I was actually really in doubt that they could do a better job in comparison to part one. And in my opinion, they actually did. Like,
I would
I s-
argue it's not close.
like, as in,
Part two is that much better than part one.
yeah, like, yeah, it's better. Like, it's much better. And I wasn't expecting that.
I think the way that part two evolves is it takes war and because I think even though there's a certain depth and understanding of war in part one, it only understands it from a slightly like, oh, these characters are more than just 86 and blah blah blah. Like really getting into the deep nature of like what does a soldier want? You know, what is survivor's guilt feel like? Like a lot about what survivor's guilt feels like. A lot of Shin's scenes, like there's the one where it's all the dog tags and kind of all of them's behind him. And it's just so effective in explaining like there is so much that these people will feel.
Yeah.
And it's so hard when people want to dictate their feelings for them because they've been what they've been through, right? People want to say who they are and what they should and shouldn't do. And like it's one thing to just elevate the story like that. But then you get to episodes like 19 through 23. And there's like elevated fights in terms of cool animation and cool style.
Yeah.
But then there's the fight with the Morpho. And the amount of feelings you feel within a short period of time is just like, so like there's Frederica in part 2, which by most character designs you should hate. In terms of if we ignore her writing, she's annoying, brat character, blah blah blah. But then she recognizes a lot of the nature of war, what it means to lose someone, what it means to give up someone. It's just like, it's a lot.
In that sense, when it comes to Frederica, this is actually a point that I want to make. So watching 86, there's a lot of really good things, high quality things to talk about. There's very few bad, not even bad, but like very few things to critique. So when it comes to Frederica, I was expecting her to be one of those points. She's not. And what I wasn't expecting throughout the anime, and this is in part 1, obviously, is Shin and his brother's relationship. So in that sense, it kind of caught me off guard for both cases, because I was expecting a better execution for that relationship, and I was expecting a much more cliche, like generic, disturbing character or personality from Frederica, which she's not, to the point where she actually becomes a really well executed anchor point for the story, and for the remaining crew of spearheads, basically.
For me, it's like, to go quickly back to part 1. Yeah, I'm actually, we both pretty agree that the stuff with, it's not Kiri, it's whatever his older brother's name is, Ray.
Right.
The thing with Ray is that I think that his, like, I mean, we talk about the over, hitting you over the head with, like, in your face type of, revenge plot type things. It's very over the top, and I think there is some honesty and feeling to it, but it does hammer in a bit too much, and I think it's made up by by the execution more than it is by the actual writing.
The amount of flashbacks of the same moment we had, for example.
No, I agree.
Like, I don't want to, explain or like display what that specific flashback is, but when you see it, you'll understand.
If I had a nickel for every single time a character was with a family member and experiencing that moment, I'd have 3 nickels. Now, that's not a lot, but it's really weird that it happened 3 times.
Yeah. And again, you'll see it when you watch it, but that type of stuff, like, could have been done better. But going back to Frederica, from the get-go, like, because they introduce her and then you maybe see a specific scene for me where, like, they establish her really well. Like, because at the first, like, her introduction is, like, kind of generic, they're like, oh, like, bratty, kind of like, I'm above everyone else kind of acting like child. And you're like, okay, like, they actually had to...
We had to ruin the anime somehow, apparently.
Yeah, we had to add a character like that, but literally, like, 10 minutes later, something, like, a specific scene goes down and you're like, oh, like, she has a backstory and she is not a whiny kid because of that backstory, but like, she acknowledges what happened and reflected on that, so can talk about stuff, which I think we can talk a bit more freely in terms of spoiler at this point, since we have breaking it down this much. She basically, within this setting, they have, let's put it like the 86 spearhead crew, the remaining crew has like a foster dad, I guess you could call him. And then the crew wants to go back to war. The dad doesn't share that opinion. Frederica, as a kid, mind you, like 8-year-old kid, something like
10
that.
going on 9.
Yeah, like, you would normally expect her to act bratty, but like, she literally cuts the father's sentence and being like, hey, like, you're right now disrespecting these kids. Like, they had their experience and they lived in that war zone for 15 years. Like, you are not to basically dispose their opinions about what they want to do. And that really gives the tone of the character. Like, yes, she is a brat. Yes, she is young and small, but she knows a lot of things about real world and the situation that's happening within that world, basically.
Yeah, and the deliberation that the 86 go through is really a lot. Like, I think it's more or less one episode, but I mean, there's the scenes with Anju and Theo that I think is very effective. That really goes into some slight. If you look in the background of, let's say, that scene, you might notice something.
That scene, like, I'm sure you remember it. Y'all, I watched that scene, and the next day I came to like my shift, and Jared was here, and I'm like, yo, that scene with Anju and Theo, they literally add two characters at the background walking across the frame that looks like Anju and Daya.
Yeah.
And that was
Twist of the knife. A little twist of the knife.
it hurts, but it's such a nice touch.
And I will say that while I think Karena is probably the weakest character out of all of the Spearhead, she does have a moment when she's like, I think I'm done like living here. Like, I'm ready to go back to where I feel like I belong. And I think that is like her powerful moment. But to go back really to Frederica, who I think is a large part of part two, is she while Lena is more of the humanizing part of Shin in part one, Frederica is the humanizing part of Shin in part two. But she has her work very cut out for her this time because Shin is very much going off the deep end. And I kind of would not expect Kiri and Shin to have such a good dynamic, but even though it's like, oh, this kind of, I will say the villains of 86 are a bit weak. It's a bit like, oh, kind of psychologically insane, like morph human beings. Like, I would say it's not the strongest, but the way they execute and play around them and make the characters themselves reflect on who they are, like the flashbacks with, or like fake flashbacks with Frederica, Kiri, Rei, and Shin is like, it's so heartwarmingly sad. And everything about Shin in episode 22 is like, oh man, it's like such incredible, insane cinema of just feeling the depths of self-hatred and sorrow that you feel because of survivor's guilt and because of so many things about where you're going with your life. Like, it's just depicted so well. It's so hard to put into words because you just need to watch it, that it separates. It's like episode 22 and 23 is what make 86 like not comparable to most shows, because it takes what is supposed to be your reward, it elevates it to something you literally cannot expect because of how good it is.
Which is, I was about to get pissed on episode 23.
It's also the restraint that they play with it, because the restraint, like literally, like Shin's whole sequence, and then the talk at the Spider Lily Field, which is very beautiful. Lena has a line that's like, and I think that's some, like saying that you've made it this far, and I think that's something you should be more proud of. And then I just started crying. I was crying so much.
No, the scene is really well executed.
It's so beautiful, and the restraint matters there. Yeah. I think it really does.
I'm not gonna elaborate a lot so that whoever watches it can experience it without any major spoilers. It is a beautifully executed scene. Two episodes in a sense. But man, I was this close. Like, if they didn't wrap the show up the way they did, I would be like, I'd be booking my plane ticket now and flying to Japan to get to the source of this issue. Like, but they didn't do it. They did a really great job. They did an amazing ending and all that stuff.
So ending right.
And for the, by the way, villain part of things, I do want to mention, in my opinion, Kiri is a better, like, more well executed villain than Rei,
Oh,
like the
Miles.
older brother.
He's a better foil to Shin.
Exactly.
And that's what
Yeah.
matters. Is it's like what you might become rather than what you fear, which I think is a lot stronger for Shin's arc.
In general, I would say like a lot of things, especially like emotion plus character related development in part 2 feels feels a lot more natural.
Yes.
That's how I would put it. Yeah.
And yeah, so while 86 is technically ended and people are begging for a season 2, I just want to make things clear. First of all, if you haven't watched 86, you will be more or less satisfied by the ending of 86, the anime. That
Yeah.
being said, it ends at book 3.
Yeah.
It's on book 13 or 14 right now.
Yeah, I think she's working on 14.
Yeah, she's very far into her because it's also doing incredibly well. And I've read book 4 in its entirety, but I've chosen not to read more because of the fact that I'm just like, it's executed so well by A1, I'm willing to
Yeah.
wait. No, there is no news on 86 season 2 proper because it's like, not
Yeah.
part 2, it's season 2. Because of this little anime called Solo Leveling that I think made A1 like a bazillions.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. And A1's a big studio that covers a lot of anime and a lot of genres. But yeah, we're hoping they get back to it at some point. But
Yeah, we hope.
dear God,
Which-
86 is just so special.
Which they might, because just so you all understand how successful this novel is.
The novel's successful, though. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
No, but I'm saying like the source being successful is a really good indicator of possible new seasons. Not always, but like usually if the source is successful, they do kind of want to milk it and like make a series out of it. But like regardless of that, just to mention how successful the series is, Asata only did 86 her entire professional author life. And she's still doing it. And she's been doing it more than a decade. That's how successful the light novel is. Just so you all know.
Yeah, it came out in 2017, so almost a decade,
Yeah.
I think. And she took a break for a little bit. But yeah, she's been doing incredibly well, and the novel does incredibly well. I think one thing that does sadden me is that the anime is oftentimes just an advertisement for the light novel, just due to profit margins often being a little bit better on the medium.
Classroom of the Elite kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a little tragic. I mean, Classroom of the Elite has way more seasons, which is, Classroom of the Elite's good for what it is, but 86's animation is on a different tier. But part of it is that I think 86's animation takes so long because what's crazy is they probably actually have to think, about their artistic choices rather than just copying manga panels. Like that's
Yeah.
that's I think probably what making A1 hesitates on this. And it's more than just how do we do this scene in a cool way. It's how do we do it in such an artistically beautiful way that it's going to make our audiences cry even more than season 1,
But that being said, I guess, go home after your work, because we do realize you usually watch it or listen, not even watch.
Not even watch, as I'm pained.
Yeah. After your work, like during your work. So wrap the work up, go home, start watching 86, and let us know.
Yeah, I'm gonna tap this off with a little bit of is it a rage bait or is it a truth nuke? I think 86 is the best anime after 2020. In the past 5 years, 86 is the best anime, and I think it's really not close outside of maybe Link Click.
Maybe Link Click. You're not telling me Solo Leveling is better than Okay.
In terms of profits, okay, maybe Solo.
No,
but
I'm like jokes aside, genuinely, being a mecha, I'm playing. But yeah, everything considered, this was an unexpected, super pleasant show for me. And I actually do genuinely think it's going to be like that for 90% of the people. And for that 10%, do you enjoy anime?
just go watch go watch your trash, man. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, I think 86 is just on a different level than many other anime. It has such a thoughtfulness to it and such a depth to it that most other anime can't even conceive. And that is where we'll leave it with that, because if not, I will keep talking about 86.
Yep.
And so,
Next on, a show as good as 86,
I wish,
if not better.
I kind of wish Noragami. Oh well.
Yeah,
I
the
kinda-
show's called Noragami.
I kind of wish that it, because I like the premise a lot.
Yeah.
There's certain things I wish that was better about it.
Oh yeah.
That I could say it's of that level. But because it's your show, go ahead.
So, Noragami, the show itself presents itself, I guess, as a fun, like supernatural mythology / comedy.
We got to go over the production stuff first.
Well, let's do the
Okay,
let's do the
switch it.
description
Sure,
first, so
sure.
like they have an idea about the show, and then we can break it down. But yeah, it kind of shows itself as like a supernatural, like comedy ish anime, especially at the beginning, with a generic edgelord again kind of main character who happens to be an aspiring major god within the Japanese pantheon, I guess. And he's also looking for partners to reach this goal. And even though the show starts like that, and wish it had more season, but even though the show starts like that, it kind of, especially towards the second season, pivots from being just like a comedy, like lighthearted show, even in first season. But that being said, let's break down the production value of this interesting show we have at hand. And that would be the production company being Bones.
You know them.
Everyone knows them. If you don't,
Season 1 was winter 2014, and season 2, Arigato,
yeah.
was 2015, well, fall 2015.
Which is not the like Bones' best work.
We'll talk about it. We
yeah.
will talk about Bones and their work related to Noragami.
So the author of this manga, because unlike 86, Noragami is based on a manga. It's Sawano Hiroyuki.
No.
Is not?
I think
I
you
read that
pasted
wrong?
over it. No.
Oh, Adechitoka. Yeah. Let's
I was like,
go,
what are you
let's go.
doing? Like, I see you messing in the document. No, it's
Adechitoka, no?
yeah, it's Adachi Toka.
Adechitoka,
They're a
okay.
female manga duo, like mangaka duo.
Which I personally only have read their, not read, but watched their Noragami. So that being said, continuing on, the music is done by Taku Iwasaki, and this dude, he's done some real popular shows. Quick examples: Soul Eater. I feel like it's relatively popular. I feel like it's more popular for people who watch like anime shows from early 2000s, more like from
Soul Eater
childhood.
hit like the popular, like mainstream a little bit. So
Oh, like to this day? Okay.
I would say less so to this day, but like I think if you ask people who are like probably like late 20s, early
Okay.
30s, it probably resonates with them more.
And then we got Black Butler. We all know it's a fan favorite. It has its following cult in a sense. Then Bongo Stray Dogs, 2010s, mid 2010s. It also developed its own fan base. People write a ton of, from my knowledge, fan-based stories.
The amount of
fanfics.
fanfic of
Yeah.
Bungo Stray Dogs in proportion to its quote unquote popularity
yeah.
is very high.
So he also did music for that. And from more recent ones, I guess, Gacha
One
Kuta.
that we've been watching.
The one of the seasonal shows that's going on. And then mecha fans all around the world would know this, Guren Lagann. But yeah, he has a good portfolio right there. Like even if you don't have an idea who this person is, if you know the shows, you know he's the real deal. Then we come to director Kotaro Tamura. So I see you also mentioned he did storyboarding.
Well, it's a very classic, like I said, storyboarding episode director. Never really gotten a role leading anything, and they've worked at A1 and Bone. So like, I could list off a bunch of random shows. You can look on Mal or wherever to see all of their stuff. But
Okay.
for most of these director sections, unless they've directed something before, or if they directed something like an episode directing something very specific, I'm not gonna really go into detail because it's usually like a lot of like one-off, like episode like 15 of some random anime. You know.
Okay. I hear you.
This one's sad.
Yeah, kind of. Well, where to watch?
So, yeah, where to watch Noragami. And I think this is a very good indicator of it being perfect for our show.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly. You
It's gotten taken off of. So it was originally on Funimation for a while, and
Yeah.
then it was on Crunchyroll for a while because they merged libraries. And now it's just like nowhere. I think you can get like some like primetime subscription or you could purchase it, but like there's really no place to watch it other than, where you usually would watch it.
which is your own resources
Yes,
that
your
we
own
don't
resources
know.
that you legally obtained.
And then I also have the sound director over here, which is I don't want to because we missed all the sound directors on this.
Yeah, I didn't
episode.
include them in my production stuff, but it's because we
Yeah.
also didn't really have a proper meeting for this.
Yeah, this month turned out like
a little
we were
wild,
not
a little hectic.
expecting, but here, Yamado Minoru. He did shows like let's see. I'm trying to see if he did any like popular shows, especially in the States. To be honest, not necessarily. No, he didn't. Oh, Spriggan. He did Spriggan.
That's it's not the most popular, but
Yeah,
you have
but-
probably heard of Spriggan. You may not have
Exactly,
seen
like-
Spriggan, but you've probably heard of Spriggan.
It is within its own respectful corner and influential
Yes.
anime, historically speaking. And he also did some more like light-hearted, I guess, like romance animes, and stuff like that. But yeah, not a lot of shows that's popular in the States. That being said, he does a good job on this.
Yeah.
I personally think like there are a lot of lackluster stuff.
I think it's very like comedy sound effects sometimes, as well as
Yeah.
very in your face anime sound effect.
But, like-
it's good sounds, but it's a bit much.
Yeah. But like comedy sides aside, since it's like a mythological like spirits kind of anime as well, like gods and like their partners, I guess. Regalia. I was trying
Yeah.
to search that word in my head. The regalias and then the monsters or yokai. The effects of them appearing or transforming, or basically like how I described it within my notes is specifically parts in relation to the spirit world and God world.
Yeah.
Like within those scenes, for example, when Yato first turns Yuki into his regalia, like when he's that little cutesy fluffy
Little fluff ball.
fluff ball, like stuff like that. Like they're actually on point in my opinion. But yeah, since this is your forced watch, let's kind of hear.
Well, yeah, you forced me to watch it, I guess.
Yeah.
So to quickly say what Noragami is in terms of like setting and genre, it was very not popular in the West because it's heavily based on Japanese Shintoism.
Yeah.
Like very heavily based to the point where it's like all of the gods and references and things that you would have to know are related to Japanese culture or are just Japanese inherently. And it's something that I think that if you're not willing to appreciate or kind of have an understanding of, it'll turn you away in that regard, and you'll have a harder time appreciating the show. Like a lot of the main characters are gods, and like they have all these different forms and like the different houses and things. And I think that aspect of the show is really fascinating. It's not the highlight of the show, and it becomes more of a highlight in season 2, which I think is why I enjoyed season 2 more. But season 1 is very nostalgic to me, despite me this being my first time seeing it, because it reminds me a lot of very classic, like mid-late aughts, even though this was released in 2014, but it feels very mid-late aughts, like dumb shonen-y type comedy things. And I think the show suffers for that, I won't lie. But it was, after Dororo, I will say, it was a very nice and comforting thing to see, even though there's sad undertones and all these things. And even though I will say the production value is not Bones' best,
It's not. Yeah.
it's really not. For Bones, like the expectations are high. Like, guys, they do Mob Psycho, My Hero. Like, come on, the list is endless. I will say that I thoroughly enjoyed how comfy a lot of the moments felt, even if it didn't feel like I was getting a ton in season 1, like in terms of like depth and things I was like looking forward to. That said, I think there is something to Noragami. Like, it'd be so much easier if Noragami was like just kept the tone of season 1 and just was like season 1 the whole time.
Yeah.
There actually is something there with Noragami, which I think is special.
So I'd say, kind of bouncing off of that, the thing with Noragami is the characters inside there are actually pretty well elaborated on in terms of their backstories and their personalities. Though, unfortunately, since we have the limitation of having only 2 seasons of it, they're not as well established in the anime. That being said, I still feel like in terms of like obviously our main trio, but then on top of that, for characters like Bishamonten or Ebisu or like other side gods, I guess you could call them, like we do learn their lore. Like, even if you don't know Japanese mythology, I guess, or anything about Shintoism, like you could go into this anime and kind of come out of it knowing some stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
On the contrary, even though I feel like gods and then their regalias are kind of well established in their own world, villains. Now, that's well obvious lackluster part of Noragami.
Yeah. So the thing that really shines about Noragami more than anything is the relationship between gods and their regalia. Like, it's
Yep.
really clearly like the relationship between Yuki and Yato is kind of what drives the first part of season 1. And while I've said season 1 is kind of more fun and silly, there are very serious moments with Yuki, and I do like how they have Yuki kind of spiral and fail more and more.
Do you like Yuki?
I love Yuki, actually. I think Yuki is
Okay.
my favorite character in the show,
Interesting.
by quite a bit. Like, Hiyori as the quote-unquote main character, sure, you can say it's Yato, but I think she's more of the audience's like way into the show.
Yeah.
She's very standard, like almost shoujo-y type of, oh, what should I do?
Oh, yeah, her behavior
like,
is,
very
yeah.
not in control of her world, which I kind of don't enjoy because I've seen it a ton, and she doesn't have a bunch of depth to you other than, I'll take care of you, I'll do whatever it takes, I'll never forget you, and it's just like, there's not much to it, it's just like, I'll be a good person to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's very that part still, but the relationship between Yuki and Yato is like, there's a give and take to them, and it's like Yato gives a lot, even though he's kind of a piece of shit, but at the same time, Yuki he does need to learn, and Yuki, being someone that is quote unquote at his age, kind of has to learn from experience. And I will say, like, even though I think the execution with Yuki isn't the cleanest, and I think a lot of the writing in Noragami isn't the cleanest, I do feel something. I do legitimately feel something, and I think there's authentic emotions there.
You also got to keep in mind that since like the author is a duo and not a single person, there is going to be some disrupt.
Sure. I think
I feel like in certain moments you actually feel that. Like they kind of try to pivot one way for a character, but then it turns out, or not even turns out, but it just doesn't connect as well.
yeah, there's some really weird split decisions. Like I think
Yeah.
one that you notice is like why does Mayu become so helpful?
Yeah.
Like it's weird. Like it's not that I'm against it. It just kind of happens, and it's kind of like they feel like they change their mind rather than like there's an explanation or again.
Yeah.
Like when you ignore like the mechanical parts of a story that makes it good or interesting or feel or have this depth to it, Noragami has something, but it's so rough around the edges sometimes that it's hard to fully recommend the show to people because I really do want to like Noragami, and I would argue like I do like Noragami, but there's a lot of things that really struggle to sell it. Like there's a reason this show didn't do well in the West. Like if you look on Mal, like on my anime list,
Yeah.
I'm sure if you've not paid attention, we'll call my anime list Mal just because it's easier. It's like really high popularity, but it's very misrepresentative because Mal's audience is like high anime fans, like really.
Yeah.
And the only people like there's really weird statistical things you could look into, but like there are people who will make an account on Mal to make their favorite shows Freyrin, Dandadan, and Apothecary Diaries, as I'm the biggest hater of those people. But also at the same time, there are like accounts from like 15 years ago that only have like Noragami because it has a kind of cult fan base, and it's like it was a kind of popular show in certain groups at the time.
Yeah, it did pop off because some people enjoy it, some people don't. I think I'm on the end of like appreciators, but it has that early 2010s feel to it a lot.
Yeah. The thing with Noragami though is it never hit the mainstream
Yeah, no, it
like
never
Attack
did.
on Titan
No,
or something like
no.
that.
Like
so that's
you,
like an important thing to note.
here's the thing. In anime realm, if a show is based off of, I guess, Asian mythology, because it is not necessarily specific to only Japanese mythology, history, or I'd say not all, because there's like 50-50, but like slice of life, but more like let's say not like Toradora, but like Psychic Kusoka, more like a Japanese focused kind of
Japanese.
slice of life.
Yeah.
Like they are never that mainstream. Almost never. Like I don't want to, cut out every show out there, but like there's always like a specific group of fan base that knows the show, likes the show, but like it doesn't necessarily go mainstream at all. And Noragami is one of them. But yeah, again, there was that small group of people.
And also just older anime isn't going to hit the mainstream the same way because there's just more people watching anime now.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say, to go back to what you said about the villains of Noragami, is that it really holds back a lot of the final character moments of like parts of the season. Like just straight up, Rabo from the end of season 1 is such a weak character. He like is a person of no words, and it's also from what
Yeah.
I'm aware of. We'll talk about this a bit. He's like a throwaway character in the manga type thing or something like that. Like he's not really like he's almost filler. Like he's not exactly filler.
It's not filler, but yeah, he's like
with the amount it's stretched out, it is filler.
he's like the introduction, in a sense, to the bigger villain world. In a sense,
Yeah, but
in the manga I'm talking
yeah.
about, not in the anime. Yeah.
the problem with what Rabo does is that Hiyori forgets Yato. And then a large part of season 2 is Yato worrying that Hiyori will forget him. And bitch, that already happened. So it's like I was aware that it was a manga difference.
Yeah.
And I like kind of was like, oh, wash it away. But it's like it does feel weird that there's enough manga differences that feel bad that it's like you forget that this used to happen more often. It still happens. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It still happens. But it's a lot less prevalent these days because so many more people have eyes on both manga and anime that it's less likely that they get away with it.
Like even like for example, Rabo still exists in the manga, still holds a place. A character that exists in the manga that you could argue as an important place, but does not exist in the anime, Sakura.
Yeah.
So Sakura, and I'm gonna cut this part short, but long story short, she is basically the reason Yato decides to be a good god and repent for his sins, I guess, in a sense. Like she literally is the one who triggers that kind of mindset for him. And we don't hear or see anything in regards to Sakura in the anime. So there's certainly those you could call plot holes for the anime, or like missing pieces for the puzzle that
Yeah.
exist in the manga that doesn't exist in this show. And you do notice them. Like you don't have to know the manga. Like
You feel them.
personally, I didn't read the manga for Noragami. Like I have some cues and notes in terms of the content that exists within the manga. But like even as a person, and I'm sure for you too, that did not look up the manga before watching it, you still get that feeling where it's like this can't be written like that. Like there sure is something they just did not include it in the show.
Listen, I've watched enough Naruto filler in my life to know. When it feels like a little fillery, you'll know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that's so sad about Noragami is, especially when it gets near the end, because like the thing that makes Noragami good for the most part is, like I said, the relationship between Regalia and gods. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of Bisha as a character because I think she's so overplayed in some moments, and I think her, like, you kind of know where her arc is going already, and you just have to wait for it to happen, which is fine. But at the same time, I don't think there's much complexity or execution that makes it worth waiting for. Like, I think Cosmo's my second favorite character in the show. I really like Cosmo.
Okay.
I think he provides a levity to the show as well as a certain level of like nuance in kind of like why he's betraying, quote unquote, betraying Bisha. And I guess I'll say this is a spoiler section at this point. We're really not going to talk about a lot of spoilers with the show because I don't think there's really any spoilers that are like, there's one spoiler that will affect the show in terms of how you might perceive it. But it happens so near the end, it doesn't really matter. But the show's really like, it's a bit more like monster of the week in sections. There near the end of the show, it becomes more about art, or near the end of the anime, there's a lot more arcs and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it only starts to at the very end make Yato a character, like truly a character. But it's missing so many parts, like you said, with the missing part of Sakura. Because like for me, it's like it so clearly felt like there was some motivation missing from Yato. And like the stuff with his quote unquote father and the stuff with Nora and all these things, they feel like such missing pieces. And then you get to the part with Ibisu. And it's like so rushed.
It is.
It is so rushed. It all happens in the underworld. It happens so fast. And it's just, it feels so inconsequential. And then at near the end, like there's a scene with Yato and the new reincarnation of Ibisu.
Yeah.
And then I feel something. And I'm just like, why do I feel something now? And it's because in all of this chaotic kind of rough around the edges writing, there is an honest to God, like character exploration, an authentic piece of like,
That is
art.
that is the thing. Like regardless, like let's clear this. It sounds like we're talking as if like Noragami is a bad anime. It's not. It unfortunately has a good amount of lackluster feeling areas to it, but when you boil it down to how it makes you feel and like what kind of reaction it gets from you, like it is actually a nice anime. And just like Jared said, sometimes you don't know why, but one way or another, they still did find a way to pull that emotion from you. Because I remember back when I was watching it, even in Yuki, like I am a mixed bag in terms of whether I like him or not.
I think that's how you're intended to feel about
Yeah,
him. I'm just a little messed up inside.
but that being said, like regardless of it being a positive or a negative emotion, like when he does something, still makes you feel something. Like that type of story writing or character writing is still there, and it shows. And
Yeah.
you only wish. The best way to put it is like this: you watch Noragami, you get good parts out of it, and you enjoy it, and then it all kind of leaves you wanting or wishing for it to be even better.
Yeah. Like at its heart, like if like Noragami, if it were like a person, there's someone you like. You genuinely like this person, but if someone asked you to point out flaws, you don't need to hesitate. You can say them within 5 seconds. And I think that's so sad because like another flaw that's like, I mean, we do need to talk about this. Like this is Bones. And they use a lot of
is
repeating
Bones, yeah.
animation. I would say the fight scenes are pretty lackluster. It's a lot of like anime slash,
Yeah.
anime slash. And it really hides a lot of the things that it could be. And like you might be thinking, oh, but this is like it feels late aughts or something like that, and it kind of feels smaller studio. Like guys, if you look on Mount, like I think a year or like almost like a year and a half or 2 years afterwards, they released My Hero. Like My Hero,
Yeah.
like they released such a big production show. It's like I think they knew in their like heart of hearts that this show wasn't going to be successful, just due to what they were going for. And I guess you could say the same about My Hero, but which is not true in the slightest, but in my opinion, yeah. The thing about Noragami that's so frustrating is that it does make you feel something and it does do things right, but it makes so many mistakes that you can't not point them out. Like it's inexcusable. That's the problem. It's not just small things. It's really not just small things.
Especially like the pacing, I'd say.
Oh my god.
So the pacing is, out of all the things I think we mentioned till now, if pacing was better, I feel like it would have covered a lot of the bases we just mentioned. The pacing, that's why I'm also confused. Like, did they believe it was gonna be a success, or they like, because the pacing starts almost as if like they know it's gonna be like a 4-season show or whatever, but then it ends at season 2. That kind of throws you off as well. Like the amount of time they spend lingering on arguably trivial stuff for Yato, in like weird choices. I do enjoy some parts of it, like when like the dude jumps from the building.
That's my favorite funny scene. Like, it's so dumb, but it's so classic.
Like those kind of stuff, that kind of stuff, I actually like cracked a laugh.
I was legitimately laughing.
Yeah. But again, like that pacing needs to be fixed.
A big thing that Noragami struggles with, truly, and if we compare it a little to 86, is restraint. Noragami really wants to do everything. It wants you to laugh. It wants you to feel. It wants you to do all these things that it doesn't have control of its own plot and ideas. Like, a lot of the times they will build up this moment where Yato should probably develop as a character. And it ends up being a gag. And it's like, God, a better show knows to do better there. Like a better show knows that that's a moment you need to be building Yatso in the background, even if like Yuki's the focus right now, that you need to be doing something with him. Like you can't just have him make another like, oh, Yuki, you're a pervert joke, or like, you know, oh, I'm wearing sweats and I'm sweaty like joke. Like you need to do something more. And I think that's what separates Noragami from so many others like truly great shows, is it tries to do a lot of things at the same time without considering the consequences of its own actions. Because you can't have it all in a show. You quite like 86 has some funny moments, but it's not a funny show. That's the reality of it. Noragami really needed to decide it. Am I a funny show? Am I a mix? Or am I a truly like more serious show? And it chooses to be like, it tries to max out 100% funny and 100% serious. And you can't do that. You do need a 50-50 balance and hybrid and understand each other.
It kind of at moments feels like a clusterfuck. But that being said, generally speaking, Even though some of them are like classic budget moves,
Yes.
I do like some like angle choices with the scenes. In terms of like being gimmicky and like weird. People who watched Bakemonogatari would know what I'm talking about. That like super close up or like looking upwards from the ground up, kind of like weird angles, as well as color choices. Kind of flushing out the colors in some scenes and like bringing high saturation into them, or like turning the negatives up of the scene, like stuff like that. I also enjoyed those. So in terms of like artistic direction and like color choices, that kind of thing, it still does a pretty like nostalgic and nice feeling job for itself. So if that kind of thing interests you, it still carries from there. In comparison to the negatives we just talked about. But
What's infuriating about this show is that if you asked me, hey, would you recommend Noragami to me? I'd say yes. I wouldn't even think about it. I'd be like,
yeah,
yeah. And then you listen to us talk about Noragami, and it's all frustration.
you wouldn't expect, like, if you listen just the parts we talked about, you wouldn't expect this show to be a recommendation from
No,
us.
it's crazy. Like the amount of negative, like I think
Yeah.
when I think back to episode 1, I'm more on the fence about Bakano. Like I like Bakano, but I like Noragami more.
Yeah.
But Bakano does things so much cleaner. Like Noragami is a messy show that doesn't know what it wants. It doesn't really execute anything properly, but it has heart. It has a very cool world. It has lore that you can explore and get into deeper. It has really nice art for like, the moments that it like, lets you focus on the art and not
Yeah.
have kind of jumbled animations. Like it has good ideas, but it's just like, it's again like a bright student who's just ruining their future. That's the problem. That is the problem with Noragami, is it so clearly has potential. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the stumbles are so obvious that it feels like you can't ignore them. It's something that like if someone asked me about Noragami and they asked me about the animation or they asked me about the pacing, I can't lie to them about that. Like it's so obviously like, yeah, no, there's a problem here. Like there really are problems here.
It's just like that one friend who you love and support from the bottom of your heart, but you just want better for them.
Yes.
That's Noragami.
It's so sad
So-
because I easily, within seconds, will say, yeah, you should watch Noragami.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fun and it has some stuff going to it. But the thing is that it's a show that clearly wants to do more. I think there are shows
needs
that
to
are
do more,
that
too.
yeah, there are shows that are happy doing just some fun, like
Yeah.
like there's a tons of like shows that I'm watching that are like happy, oh, we just want to be fun, or there's shows that like, oh, we want to be like slightly like it's a little torture pointy, sad, depression, edgelord type stuff. But Noragami has like really high aspirations of doing
Yeah.
like bringing like some depth to Shintoism, like making Yato an interesting character, feeling things with the relationships between regalia and gods, and also just being genuinely funny. Like it has
Yeah.
all those aspirations, but it achieves like really none of them because it's trying to do all of them at the same time, and that's what sucks because it does all of them maybe okay,
Yeah.
kind of below average for what it's doing, but it does so much. It's
Sometimes it peaks too. It's weird. It's
it's so weird.
just let us know. Watch it, because this is, like we said, still a recommendation.
No, out of all of the shows you've made me watch, Noragami is the easiest recommendation. And sure, we shat on Dororo like a lot last time.
Other than Orb.
Okay, well, or I'm talking about
No,
in
no,
the
yeah, I hear
category
you. I
of
hear
your
you.
forced
Yeah,
watch,
yeah.
yes. But in terms of your recommendations, it's like not like within a heartbeat, I'd recommend Noragami.
Yeah.
I'd probably recommend Bakano. I wouldn't recommend Dororo, but it's like it is insane how much we negatively talked about Noragami this whole time. Like I think even Dororo, which we shit on so much, we had to tiptoe the way to how we talk about Dororo. With Noragami, it's so obvious what it does wrong.
Yeah.
It's like it's so
But
so frustrating.
to wrap this frustration up, watch it, take a look at it. It's still a solid recommendation. It has its fun moments. It has its some lackluster moments, but it still gives you that joy and kind of nostalgic warmth you might want to have from a mid 2010s or early 2010s anime. And again, It's beautiful. It's nice. It's a good recommendation.
Yeah, it's if you watched anime growing up, it's a great show to kind of continue that feeling.
Yep.
But you also realize you've grown up and seen the flaws of a lot of these
Yep.
shows, and that part is kind of sad. I would say Noragami is better than a lot of those shows you maybe watched growing up, but
True.
it still has a lot of the flaws that go along with it.
That being said, we, for whatever reason, did not go easy on ourselves this month and decided in total, because 86 is 23 episodes, Noragami is 26 episodes in total, something like that.
Yeah, I think I
And-
accidentally watched like one OVA episode, so I think I have to put it at like 27. But yeah, it's weirdly
And
long.
then our shared watch that we're going to talk about now is also 11 episodes. So,
Oh, and you might think it's 11 episodes. It's a lot more than 11.
yeah.
It feels like so much more.
Oh yeah. But we were like, yeah, let's just do like 50 plus episodes this month. Why not?
We're doing the same next month.
Yeah. But that being said, talking about our shared watch, starting with that one, this one is called Tatami Galaxy.
Yeah, Tatami Galaxy has been on my personal list probably since I seriously started watching anime again. I had about a dip of kind of around early college for me, which to age myself was about 2015, 2016. And I was like kind of not playing games as much, or I was also near end of high school, stuff like that too, where I was not playing games as much and I was not watching anime as much, especially not watching anime as much. And when I came back to watching anime, I kind of like heard about Tatami Galaxy. It was a super unique show. And I was like, oh, I like, was leaning more into watching filmy type things. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool show. And it has sat on my list for like 7 years. And part of it is, the director of it. Part of it is the rave reviews of it. And part of it is just like how unique it looks, that I knew I had to watch it at some point. And kind of the great thing about this show is it allows us to explore the things that we really want to watch and really forces us to fucking sit down and watch them, right? Like, and it's gotten us through like a lot of like shows already. So
Look, this being episode 3, even just for the podcast, we roughly discussed like 9 different animes at this point. Outside of the podcast, we discussed like a ton.
yeah.
This is one of the very few shows I feel like we both actually mentioned struggling
Yes.
to finish it.
Yes. Yeah, Tatami Galaxy is really weird. I'm going to talk about production value stuff first.
Yep.
Because it's really important in this context to understand why it's weird. So the production company is Madhouse. And you're thinking, wow, Madhouse. So many animes done by Madhouse. Spring 2010.
yeah.
It feels very common. It's based on a novel. And now you're going, oh, it's a little weird. But that's really not it. It's based on a novel from 2004. Sound director is Kimura Iriko, who's done Dan Da Dan, Devilman Crybaby, Ping Pong. You're going to start to notice a trend here. Music is done by Mitsuru Oshima. Trend's not starting here, but it's Full Metal Alchemist Original, Little Witch
better
Academia, Star Wars Visions. If you are aware of the game Demo, which is a rhythm game, it actually does the music for that. I will give shout outs to the opening is done by Asian Kung Fu Generations. If you don't know who they are, just based off of name, look up their name plus Naruto and relive nostalgia if you watched it growing up. It is straight nostalgia. And then the director is Masaaki Yuasa, who I'm just going to call Yuasa because it's a lot easier, who is the former president of Science Saru, who has done Dan Da Dan, Devilman Crybaby, Mind Game, Kaiba, Ping Pong, and Japan Sinks. And Yuasa is a very, very popular director amongst like people who like anime auteur type things. Like for people who watch more than just, let's say, like Ghibli, and let's say who watch more than just like popular anime, like once you get into like, I watch too much anime in my free time, Yuasa is a name that comes up. And his work is so eclectic and weird. And if you've watched, for example, like Dan Da Dan, incredibly popular right now, done by Science Saru. He is not doing anything with Dan Da Dan. He, I think, left in 2020. But you can very clearly see some of the influences in there of like kind of the creativity, the weirdness. But when you get Yuasa full on, which I think is what Tatami Galaxy really is. I haven't seen Mind Game, which I know is
Yeah, I was looking to that one. and,
Mind Game's
like,
the other
He
one.
did Mind Game too. Yeah.
Mind Game's the other one where it's very Yuasa. Because like even like I've seen Devil out of the works that he's done, I've seen Devilman Crybaby and Ping Pong as well, and those are like there's definitely Yuasa there, but it's not as much as with Tatami Galaxy.
Yeah, I like obviously know the animation style of Ping Pong and Devilman Crybaby. Kind of fanboying over Devilman Crybaby nowadays too. But anyways, yeah, it's Tatami Galaxy is 2 steps more. Masaki-san.
Yeah, it's the thing with you like Devilman Crybaby and Ping Pong are digestible Yuasa stuff. It's kind of like it's Yuasa doing anime things.
Yeah.
I would argue Tatami Galaxy plays almost more like a cartoon, but it's also like more psychological than a cartoon. Like it really is weird. God.
Which, yeah, you can appreciate some. You can think what's going on here at some moments, but yeah, we'll dive into those. But
So I am burdened with the task of describing Tatami Galaxy.
I can try it too if you want to.
No, the fact that I wrote something down means it's gonna be my attempt. Tatami Galaxy is another one of those anime that I'd really like to call more of an experience than a story. A large part of what makes Tatami Galaxy is how you experience this, like the plot rather than the actual writing. Like it's more about the weird art style, the fast narration, the repetition upon repetition that comes before anything that the characters are saying and doing, which is so weird that this is based off of a novel. Tatami Galaxy is like a seemingly slice of life show. I will call it a slice of life show. And it's like a coming of age story, kind of.
It's a
Kind of.
it's a clusterfuck with time and space paradoxes and loops, and all that quantum stuff happens within the life of a college student, basically.
Yeah, it leans a lot more into like psychological self-exploration, especially later on.
Well, yeah.
It takes on the whole like not so rosy college lifestyle that remains the same throughout, but takes a different lens at it every single time. And you know what? I'm going to say it. Low-key, in my opinion, Tatami Galaxy is ugly as hell. It's so hard to watch.
Dang, okay. Yes, but
There's definitely a but.
for me, it was not necessarily hard to watch because it was ugly.
No.
But again, like, you also have to keep in mind that like art and like how that's directed is like our personal taste as well. So like I can 100% understand if someone finds it ugly, because it's not that hard to see that end of the perspective when it's this show. For me, it was not that though. For me, it was just there's nothing substantial till you actually reach like midway into the show in terms of how the story is represented. Like for me, it was, I think, yeah, straight up to like episode 5 or 6 without going into any kind of details. Like I was just watching like weird shapes and colors and like warping things and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's cool, but like, it's not telling.
Yeah, it's a bit too, as someone who is a fan of avant-garde animation, it's a bit too avant-garde without the intentions behind it. Like, I know part of it is like displaying the experience of, so fun fact, the main character doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
For our sake and purposes, I will call him Watashi, because that's what's put on the wiki. I'm aware Watashi means I/me, and I know it's dumb, but for the sake of it, that's what we're going to call him. It's a lot of fast narration. It's a lot of like filters on real life things. It's a lot of weird colors and bends. And it does a lot of like cartoony things, which I do appreciate. But when I ask the purpose of what for, and it's really all for the goal of this experience. The question is that experience worth it? And I'm going to throw that to you.
That's okay. So it's only worth it if you can actually hold on to it until the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
So whether you want to spend that time, it really boils down to how much you can withstand a show wasting your time, or not. Let's not say wasting your time, but
It's
like
definitely not wasting it.
it's not necessarily wasting, but like a show taking up your time with just art and different, in a sense, weird execution. Like if you're okay with that stuff, or if you find that stuff interesting, which to a certain degree I myself do, and that's how I kind of took the bullet and like continued till the last 2 episodes, then yeah, it's worth it. But if you're not that type of person, if you're like, you want a solid grounded story, something that pulls you in from the get-go, it's not worth it.
So I think there are shows that are okay to have as experiences and do interesting things and make you feel things. And I think Tatami Galaxy has elements of those things.
Yep.
The thing with Tatami Galaxy is that, so to talk about it more like, I guess from a more like artistic standpoint, the idea that I guess that part of it is trying to present is that all of these different lives that Watashi lives kind of end up amounting to like the one life of like Ozu. And that's like part of it. There's more to it.
Yeah.
But that's part of it. And part of it is also realizing like the limitless yet limited potential of all of those different lives and the things that you do, and almost how no matter which way Watashi went, he would fail or not be able to overcome things in the same way. It's about the idea of the limitless potential being more limited than we think, you know? And
Plus, who actually is pure and not.
sure, yeah. And I think one of those things that I would say that makes the show very interesting is I like how the motifs play upon each other. They build, and it's like kind of like, oh, this is nice to see in the same thing, and it has a nice rhythm to it. That being said, when you look at the watch time, you're both shocked that it somehow took 22 minutes, and at the same time you're like, oh my god, it's still going on. Like it both feels insanely long and insanely short, in both like not great ways.
So for me, this show is so weird that I feel like we kind of have to get into that spoiler-ish zone relatively earlier in comparison to other shows.
Yeah.
Because everything is almost super situational and momentarily happening. Like each episode has its own unique spoiler to it, I guess, that towards the end becomes relevant. So that's why we kind of got to jump in to it a bit early. But before all that talk, literally till we reach, I think, like that the 3 choice moment in the story. I'm assuming you know what I'm talking about. The only thing that kept me going, or like the thing that was for me made the thing like tolerable, was Neko Ramen Shop.
Yep.
Where supposedly puts real cats into their ramen soup. And then the prophet lady, like the...
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I had so much fun. The fact that like whenever he encountered the prophet, she would just kept like making the prophet shorter and faster and like more expensive. Like it's repetitive and it's like a cheesy like comedic thing they do, but I just, I every episode I would see her and I'd be like, nice.
So to say one thing about all of this is to talk about this talk about Tatami Galaxy as animation.
Yeah.
Repetition in animation is very important, like incredibly important. Anytime you can reuse animation and save money, but at the same time reinforce ideas, that is the goal of animation, right? That is the goal of a lot, like, not the final goal, not the end all be all goal, not the only goal, but it is a very important part of animation. You will reuse animations for a lot of different things to make effectiveness. So Tatami Galaxy heard that and was like, oh shit, so we can just do the same episode basically with some different like pieces placed in different parts and a slightly different through line, and we're good.
Yeah.
But it does have really nice, I hate to put it this way, but kind of gimmicks and motifs. I know gimmicks is a bit harsh and motifs is probably a bit much, but it does have things that pull you along and makes you feel like, okay, this is going to be worth it. Like part of me was like, man, I just want to see Akashi be developed more as a character because I'm a dirty romance anime watcher. I'm aware. I'm fully aware that's part of it.
Dude, but to be honest, even I like had that expectation / wish towards it. Like
not that I really needed it, and I'm kind of fine with how Akashi ended up being, but it's the fact that there wasn't something pulling me in for sure.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So the structure of Noragami is 5 episodes of basically different Watashi
Tatami
lives.
Galaxy.
Of what?
Tatami Galaxy.
What did I say?
Noragami.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I've had a long
That's
shift.
why we recommend Noragami. No, I'm just
I've
kidding.
had a long shift. Tatami Galaxy has 5 episodes of different lives that Watashi lives. And then it has the 3 choices. And then it kind of has one episode afterwards where it's like kind of uncertainty. And then episodes 10 and 11, which is truly what makes the show, quote unquote, worth it. And I will say that while we said that Tatami Galaxy does not waste your, or at least I said I don't think it wastes your time, I do think it does disrespect it a little. I think it feels like these gimmicks and fast narrations and these rewind zoop zoops. Like I do think the rewind zoop zoop parts and like that kind of aspect and seeing things in different lights is cool. For it to be the whole thing makes it feel a little too experimental as opposed to substantial, right? And I think that difference is what, like, I can recommend shows that are like experiences, right? And are less story driven, but it's a lot harder to recommend this one kind of because of that.
And the thing is, the reason we keep saying like, in a sense, like accumulating everything we just said about this show till this point, it basically becomes better executed the more you watch it. And that's why we're saying like it's hard till midpoint, because towards the end, a lot of thing is in one way or another linked. As in, you understand why, like even if it's not necessarily linked inside that universe, like storytelling wise, you start understanding why we saw that episode and that thing. The problem is, in the early episodes, this is maybe like literally 30 seconds of that episode. Whereas later on, it literally becomes the whole thing. And you're like, yes, like they needed that episode for it. But for the first 4 or 5 episodes, it's like you literally see maybe like 30 seconds of a relevant thing. And then everything else just plays out on its
repetition.
Own way, repeating itself. And it's like, it's not the most fun experience. That being said, art. So a few things that I want to mention. First of all, I do want to give like a heads up to people who do not like monochrome work a lot, because Tatami Galaxy has a lot of monochrome.
You could argue the first 5 episodes each have their own stage of monochrome.
Exactly. So if you don't like black and white drawing, not too many colors, you might get disturbed easily. That being said, I do sometimes enjoy usage of monochrome scenes. And for me, Tatami Galaxy not only stops there, they also do blends of live recordings with filters, with animation, and then almost like more like stop motion kind of animation as well, on top of weird like visual morphs and different aspect ratios, all that stuff. So if you find that interesting, this is probably gonna be one of the shows that uses all these visually experimental methods to the extreme in the same show. So
Yes,
yeah.
but my problem with Tatami Galaxy is that it does all of these things for a goal of making you feel kind of like overwhelmed whirlwind, like, oh, my college life passed by in 2 years. And it tries to hit that same goal in your face over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think as a feeling, it's relatively, quite frankly, not the strongest. And I don't think it's the most developed. And I don't think I care as much, despite being someone who feels similar to Watashi. I think I have very similar feelings about my time in college, or like at least a period in my life related to it. When I compare it to something that is kind of avant-garde, experimental, psychological, that is similar, is like Serial Experiments Lane. I always mess it up. It's either Serial Experiments Lane or Serial Lane Experiments. I always mess up the order of the last two words. But anyways, about Lane, because with Lane, it focuses on building this isolation and loneliness and like kind of disturbance and difference from the world. That's like, okay, I understand why we're using these kind of psychedelic, weird shots, because I'm like quite literally experiencing the world differently than other people. And I think it does that effectively. The thing with Tatami Galaxy is I'm like, okay, you're hitting the same nail on the head slightly differently, and it's not improving it. You're just kind of hitting me on the head again, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like, again, it's really not until episode 6 that changes. And when it changes, it's still a bit slow.
And then the story being slow, the dialogues are fast.
It is, you need like caffeine to watch this show. You need
Like,
caffeine to watch this show. Or some sort of like attention, like, drug.
I'm not gonna lie, since usually the shared watch animes like logistically becomes the last show we watch in terms of our watching order. Like, and personally, I usually watch animes, those shows, towards the end of the day after like our shift and like stuff to do. Like, I literally couldn't stay awake for more than 2 episodes back to back for Tatami Galaxy. Like I always went in there with the intention of like watching like 4 episodes or whatever, and then I would realize in the morning, like when I wake up, that I fallen asleep after 2 episodes. You have to be awake for it. You have to be like,
You
have to have
actively
your
watch the show.
attention span ready
Yes.
to watch it. Like it's really quick, and this is regardless of you watching it in like dub, sub, like it's just fast, and it continues to be so till again midway of the show. And I feel like midway they realize it's too fast, I guess. And
I think Yuasa. I don't think Yuasa realizes that. Like, I think he knows what he's doing.
No, it's probably intentional, but like it's funny because it's almost like, oh, they finally realized it, and like the conversations become
it's like their audio engineers go, oh shit, I had it on 2x speed, guys. Oh, like it low key, like that would be a feasible story if it wasn't Yuasa. The thing that, because like even when we're talking about episode 6 and 8, or 6 through 8, as if this is like some grand change revelation. It's really not. It's like just a slightly slower pace and a slightly different look at the same formula that builds upon it as like we're finally going to the next level. That level isn't much higher, but it's a new level. It really doesn't go until episode 10, and I would argue episode 10 is very good, and it's a very strong episode of anime. It merely makes you consider all of the things they've been adding into the world, and kind of like, oh, how do we see Watashi's life? How do we see Ozu's life? How does it feel to be trapped yet like exploring a limitless idea? And like a lot of it is like kind of like the inner psyche in terms of like it's a lot of like self-hate, right? There's a lot of self-hate in terms of like kind of like what I can and can't be, despite me being able to restart and do things all over again. But my biggest problem that I'm gonna like pose to you as a question is, does it come all together for that goal? And that goal might be a bit arbitrary and might not be exactly what I'm saying. I think there's arguments of what Tatami Galaxy's goal could be. But for the goal that you might be envisioning of
It's
yourself,
the friendships you make throughout the journey. I'm sorry, I had to do that.
but for the goal of Tatami Galaxy, I think it's different for a lot of people who watch it because I think it does have the ability to have at least some different flavor for everyone. Is it worth it for you?
That is actually a much tougher question than you would expect. But yes, personally, at the end of the day, I am pleased that I was able to finish this show, and I do think it like binds itself good at the end. If it wasn't for those 2 episodes, that would not be the case. And actually, like you just mentioned, episode 10 is one of the very few, if not the only episode that I took episode specific notes about stuff that impressed me. Which one of them is the 4.5 tatami philosophy.
Oh, I love it. I
That's-
love 4.5 Tatami floors.
That's so good.
It's like, oh, that's why it's called Tatami Galaxy.
Exactly.
No way.
It's so good. And then the where they pull it from that philosophy way till the end of episode 11 is really well executed on its own. And then visually, I actually really enjoyed whenever they cut into the books and then the alarm watch. Those really did intrigue me because they were like real recordings incorporated into the animation.
Yeah. I think my thing that I loved the most about episode 10 was revisiting the vignettes that we had seen previously and seeing
Yeah.
how we see this light now that it feels like it. Because there's a hopelessness that Watashi has now. Because like there's this stubbornness that he has throughout the whole show that ends up becoming hopelessness and like a lost foundation and kind of feeling like he's never going to escape his own kind of inner like there's a lot of ways you could put it, but like I guess like inner loser's mentality type thing of like no matter where I go, I'm going to be trapped in the same tatami, you know, the 4.5 tatami mat floor. It doesn't matter who I am, what relationship I'm in, what path I picked under the clock tower, I'm here. And I think it's a very interesting exploration. And I think a lot of it does pay off. My biggest problem, and I'm aware this is my bias, is when I'm considering what it makes me feel. It makes me think a lot more, which I think is fine, but I don't feel a ton in relation to it. I don't resonate with it in a strong way. I don't really have it like when you compare it to 86. 86 rips things out of you you never understood about yourself. When you think about Tatami Galaxy, it makes you think about things that maybe you haven't thought of, but it's not. For me, I like the raw, visceral reaction that comes from watching something like animation. And despite this show having so many different, cool, weird things that could make you feel like new things, it only touches you in small, weird, little bitty ways until episode 10, where it then makes you just think about everything that Watashi has gone through.
In that regards, I agree. Like it's most certainly not, again, for me too. It might be for someone else, but for me, it's not necessarily emotionally like triggering, I guess, like show that makes me feel certain things. It's even the thinking part. Again, midway till the show, even that doesn't exist. That being said, like the appeal is, I guess, how they ultimately connect the show. It is intriguing. It is the appeal of an idea is what it's good about this show, and how they executed that idea, and that idea kind of pushing you into thinking something. But like you said, I did not personally feel anything emotionally throughout the show. I did chuckle here and there for the jokes that I mentioned at you with the ramen shop and then the profit and then some other smaller aspects. But yeah, it's a it's a weird show. It's not, if you are someone who feels fulfilled because they had the chance to watch a show that has very niche and specific art and a very peculiar way of doing things, then I feel like you would be happy that you watched it. But whether it'll go further than that, I feel like that's highly personal and that it does not go further than that for me, but still kind of makes it worth it because of that.
I think for me, and this might be weird to say considering all that we've talked about, the show actually, weirdly enough, does not go far enough with its weirdness. I think episode 11 is a moment of cowardice, of choosing to wrap up a lot of knots
Yeah.
to make the show make sense. And I'm sure, based off the novel, it has to do all these things, blah, blah, blah. I think that a bolder show, which I know is crazy to say that Tatami Galaxy is not bold, but I think a large part of the show would have understood that this exploration of Watashi is so important. Like, I understand near the ending of the show is about Watashi's relationship with Ozu, and kind of Ozu, despite being, quote unquote shitty to Watashi, has been there in all of his lives and doing all these things for him, quote unquote, and kind of giving him something. But, and at the same, and a lot of the episode kind of focuses on that, but it wraps up so many knots that it feels wrong, considering we've
Yeah.
seen them all be opened up. And it kind of feels like they should stay open throughout the entire show and not easily tied up, Because it feels like episodes 1 through 5, it's like it opens up all these loose things. And I'm like, oh, it's so messy. And then it cleans it up so quickly. And I'm like, that didn't feel satisfying considering we spent 5 episodes opening everything up. But okay.
Yeah. In my, like, for me, I was kind of, I understand what you mean when you say that. It's just that for me, I was kind of happy that, like, they wrapped it up. I was kind of happy, like, one specific thing that I wanted to, and like you wanted to see from the beginning is Akashi and
Give me my romance.
Watashi. Aynen. Oh, I said Turkish word accidentally. Exactly. Akashi and Watashi somehow finally building one type of relevant, proper relationship. Like, regardless of this being a more friend or a love interest or whatever you want to dictate that relationship is, but at least there is something. Because one of the most disturbing things for me is the repetition of that specific interaction between the two for 11 episodes back to back to back. Like, everything
They
else
don't do it for
aside,
11 episodes. It's like 5. And then it's like a little different, but yes.
but a little, like,
Yeah.
really
Yes, I know
little.
what you
Like, you actually, I'm not even, like, the amount of times we just saw her going crazy over bugs and us repeating that same thing.
Moguchi Man. There's one missing Moguchi
Exactly.
Man.
It's like that kind, like, one type of progress, please. And that actually, only that. I don't care about the other stuff. Seeing progression over that relationship actually did give me some satisfaction.
Yeah, but it feels like a type of satisfaction I didn't earn, you know?
Oh, fuck that. I earned it, bro. I
Okay,
I
you earned it
suffered
by
11
suffering. You earned it
episodes.
by suffering, but as an audience, it doesn't feel like it was earned necessarily in the same way. Again,
It
for me,
doesn't feel as it's earned by the characters.
yes. When you tell someone you should watch Tatami Galaxy, you don't tell them about episode 11.
Oh no.
You tell them about episode 10. And I
Yeah.
think that says a lot about what this art style and this whole thing is about. And I think it is about his self exploration and self hatred and like confusion in life that Watashi has. So it feels wrong to gratify him in a way that didn't feel earned. I think there is some writing and some execution that just could have been done better to make it feel more earned rather than it just being like, well, it's episode 11. Looks like it's that time, everyone. Like, it's not exactly that. I am overstating it by a lot, but it is a bit more like, okay, he's kind of escaped it. He's kind of escaped his cycle of self-hate a little bit, and he understands what he's grateful for and what he kind of wants out of the world. But that doesn't mean everything is going to make sense for him in his life. It feels like it jumps from the conclusion of it's the difference between being self-aware and fixing your problems. It's like he's self-aware now.
Yeah.
That's good. He shouldn't have fixed his problems yet. That's the difference.
Yeah, I can hear you.
And so for me, it feels like a bit of a jumping conclusion, and that it felt wrong for a show that had its restraint on so well for so long to give up on episode 11.
Episode 11 is basically, I would put it like this. It's a sweeping episode.
Yes.
It sweeps everything and just clears the way out. Then they're like, yep, this is what we did. Have a good day.
Yeah.
That being said, again, I feel like this is gonna be whether this is a recommendation or not is highly personal and should, in my opinion, be dictated by whomever might be interested after hearing our opinions, because it's nonetheless in regards to everything we said, it is an unique experience.
Yes.
As in an anime show. So take a look at it. Try to see if you can watch it.
Yeah.
And if you can, hey, let us know. Did you or do you think similar to us? Or do you think it's better, worse?
For me, I'll say as a recommendation, if you appreciate animation as a medium, there's a lot of value to get out of it.
Yeah.
However, I think a lot of what the show is focused on is relatively self-absorbed in terms of maybe what Yuasa's trying to... Yuasa's simply done better work, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's sad to say, considering how high of a regard people hold Tatami Galaxy in. Because I think building everything up to get episode 10 is great, but when all you can offer up in a show is one episode truly as a brilliant episode, I think it's sad to say that is all you could amount with this show in terms of what you can... Again, there's things and elements and small things about all the other episodes that do amount and are important. But the thing that will stick with you, the thing that you can talk about, the thing that has what I feel like more human than anything amount is episode 10. And when you can't have more than just that for an 11 episode show, it feels wrong to recommend it to people who may not appreciate the weird, small, eclectic things about it. Mm-hmm. Again, I think you should watch it regardless because I think episode 10 is so unique. But at the same time, there's enough things that I think could get in someone's way.
You have to be ready to, in a sense, stick to it till episode 10.
Yes, you can't take your mind off of the goal.
Yeah,
because I know it's easy to do so.
Yeah, because if you're not interested in all the visual things we just mentioned, it's gonna take a toll on you. You have to remind yourself that there is a goal to reach for this show.
Which again, I would argue there are shows that do these weird visual things better. Which I know
yeah,
that's the thing. If it was the best at doing them or integrated them in different ways,
it would have been more
things,
worth it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is that even in its experimental nature, it's not the newest and greatest and best or anything about it. It's just, oh, this is really unique. and I don't think there's any more to say about it than that.
Yep. That being said, going on to our next section being basically our Manhwa or manga or Manhwa of the month. I was almost going to say week, but
It's
of
so
the
easy to say week,
month.
right?
Yep. We got a popular one. This is by no means an
No.
obscure. If you are whatever aware of the webtoon realm outside, Omniscient readers Viewpoint, you've definitely heard about it. It's the biggest hit after arguably a bigger hit than Solo Leveling right now
Yeah.
in the Manhwa world. But since it has a lot of chapters, we are just gonna have like a brief introductory conversation about it. We wanted to like kind of, give a introduction to what we think might happen.
It's because I realistically, as a human being, cannot finish a manga in a month.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just how I
So-
function as a person, part of it. And also, I don't think, I think most of the time, if we don't have another manga to read next month, we'll just read ORV. But I could easily see us interrupting this for another manga because I think while it's enjoyable and interesting to talk about, I will say I don't place it as my highest priority. Shout out to my friend
Yeah.
Lang, who really wants me to read this and probably give my opinion about this. I don't know if she really cares. But yeah, I think ORV, there's a lot to say about ORV, even if it's not necessarily the newest and greatest thing.
Yeah. That being said, so we will the stuff we'll talk about right now is roughly around chapter 40, 50, that part. I personally am a fast reader.
Yeah.
So I am right now almost up to date. I think I'm around 260
I'm
plus
not built like
something.
that. I'm built to binge anime and binge games.
Yeah.
I'm not built to binge manga.
Yeah,
in
that-
Manhwa. That's not. I'm built to binge. I'm honestly built to binge games. That is what I'm built to do. Is binging games specifically, anime next, and then maybe manga. Because I actually I will say the one manga I like did blitz through was like Blue Lock.
Yeah.
I blitzed through that legitimately in like 3 days.
I did, but I also do everything.
No, I know
so-
that's the difference. It's like, but like I can do it. It's just really, really rare.
But that being said, since I'm more ahead than where you are, like what did you think about it so far? Your first impressions, like kind of where you're at.
So for those of you who don't know what ORV is, let me just say, oh gosh darn, your life is terrible. You're such a loser. Even in your own life, you're not the main character. In the genre of reality, you aren't even a side character. But what if your genre was to shift? Oh my. Kim Dokja's doesn't become the protagonist, but he does become the only reader. And I'll be honest, the plot is kind of dumb and a bit on the nose on a lot of things and very isekai, even though it's technically kind of not isekai. It is.
Yeah. For people who want more specific technical terms for webtoons, I think they call this game system.
Yes, it is technically a game system one more than an isekai, but it does serve power fantasy nonetheless. I will say that for me, the game system stuff is very interesting, and I like the perspective of the quote-unquote omniscient reader. That said, I am not a fan of the consistent moments of Kim Dokja just like, well, I know the answer. Fuck it. I'm going to solve it. And sometimes it's cool to see him unlock and do the new thing, but I think his lack of struggle has been kind of boring. And I also think that a lot of the characters cling to him really easily. I think out of everything, again, I've liked it so far for what it is because I think it's fun. But the one thing that if you would ask me truly, do you truly like ORV? My answer would be not really. I do enjoy it, but the reason why it's not really is because the character, like the side character moments are so obvious and so overplayed in a weird way. And a lot of them suck. The only side character I like, well, okay, I kind of like Jung Hee Won, the girl who like she has like the scales and that type of thing. I like her. Lee Jie's if her execution was better, I would
Okay.
enjoy more. But the only character I truly like is Lee Gil Young, the little kid. I actually think he's very interesting, and I think that his attachment to Dokja is a lot more interesting than the other characters, and how he kind of sees a like bigger brother character, but also has this weird over loyalty to him. Because I think there's like points where he's like, "Oh, should we kill it?" And like it seems like a bit rude. Like I think he's truly an interesting character. Everyone else, like the soldier, the coworker, like all these other characters, I don't care about, and the villains, I don't care about, and the quote unquote main character, I don't care about.
Okay.
So I think that's the part of me that really struggles to get into ORV other than enjoying game systems and seeing a quote unquote story play itself out, you know?
Yeah.
It's not sucks me like again. If this was like because again, I've even been sucked into like I was sucked into Chainsaw Man even though I didn't really like it. Like I like Chainsaw Man for what it was, but I didn't love Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
But I finished Chainsaw Man in like a week, like about 200 chapters, or maybe a little less, maybe like 150. The reason I can't do that with ORV is I think it's because there's no character I'm driven towards, really, other than Gil Young, who's like not really that important to the plot as of now. He has had moments, but has become secondary.
Okay. So since I'm I'm more ahead in the into
One
the
could say you're an
plot.
omniscient reader in this situation.
Exactly. No puns intended. That struggle kind of gets addressed, as in like side characters feeling too side charactery and like not being detailed enough, and are just from the get go willing to follow Dokja and or Dogeza for people who read it. And like as in the part where you mentioned the lack of struggle, like all that stuff gets addressed, some more and some less. But one thing I could say up till this point is it's certainly, and if you all don't know, I do read and watch a lot of trash or filler animes and manhwas. So, in comparison to those, which, like, in a lot of shows like that or webtoons like that, the repetition really gets at you. Like, you get, like, really bored. Like, it's fun for the first, like, 50, 60 chapters, but then you're like, enough. Almost like playing an MMO that's too grindy, you know, like
Yeah.
you just can't get over it. And I feel like Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint has enough change and shift towards throughout the story that it still keeps you interested. Whether it's introducing other characters, elaborating more on the existing ones, kind of obvious, like you understand when it happens, but like additions to the world and the story so that it is more exciting. Like I feel like author throughout the story improves, like the author improves their storytelling, and like kind of, I don't know if this is true, but like I guess addresses some feedback if they had some. And in that case, in that sense, it still, you know, the Kindle lit in terms of our interest, or at least mine for now.
For me, my other two big problems, because I think the side characters being weaker than I would like is the thing, is that I think Doctor as a character is fine. I don't think he's bad. I think I don't care.
Yeah.
My second biggest problem, which is arguably bigger, is that I don't think that the amount of fourth wall breaks they do type thing gets a bit exhausting. I don't really care because I kind of know what's going to happen. I don't really find interest in it because I'm much more interested in the game system. The fact that we're breaking the game system so often feels like I don't care about them more. Like, because I'm more interested in the game system than I am about the fourth wall breaking. And so the fourth wall breaking, when it breaks the game system, I'm like, oh, that's annoying. And then it feels like
Okay, I
I'm not
actually
as
can see that.
rewarded by the intricate game systems because I kind of know Dokja's not going to follow them anyways. So it's kind of just like, all right, you're going to beat this somehow, and I don't really need to pay attention to whatever the fucking the scenario is because you're probably gonna beat us in a way that no one could have ever guessed because you know the whole plot. Like I think there's better ways of utilizing the whole omniscient readers thing.
I hear you.
I definitely
Yeah.
think that at this point of the story, it doesn't feel like it's there.
Yeah, that specific part still kind of goes on, like in that regards, like that, like the way they do it becomes more elaborate, but still it is very much there. So on that end, I can see that
Like
being not the best approach for some people. Yeah.
beyond just entertainment value, as a writer, it's such a crutch that it's annoying. Like it's a little annoying to deal with because I'm just like, you would need to learn so much more about writing to make this novel or to make this like, novel webtoon, whatever you call it, better. Like you would there's so much that this crutch is doing, like so much that deals with motivation and all this stuff. Like again, I think it's an okay premise, but it does so much work for like explaining why everything is happening that it's just like, I don't know. The story feels like it's just kind of on autopilot, It doesn't feel like I'm being pulled in a direction. It feels like I'm just on for all right. Like again, if I'm comparing it to 86 because that's what we talked about this week. 86 pulls you.
Yeah,
You care.
definitely. Yeah.
It makes you feel something, even if it's not about feeling something. There is a certain level of this story is pulling me somewhere that I need to be. With ORV, it feels like I'm just there because I need to get to the next stop, to the next stop,
Yeah.
to the next stop. It doesn't feel like it's like, naturally building upon itself. It doesn't feel like there's going to be some big conclusion. It is very linear and it is very stacking one block on top of another.
Yeah.
And then they'll say it's a very tall thing, but it's who cares?
No, I hear you. Though that is usually, not always, a common issue with these like regression slash like game system kind of like webtoons.
Which is why I don't read them.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And then everyone's one end favorite in comparison to Solo Leveling, I feel like they actually do a better job at elaborating stuff. Because Solo Leveling was another beast, like perfect action. But anyways,
Comparing it to Solo Leveling is not a high bar.
Yeah.
Like quite frankly, like in terms of what I'm asking for, Solo Leveling is not a high bar.
that being said, like as a quick like final verdict, I guess at the point we're at, as I'd say, it is a good example of how this type of webtoon genre or theme can get better, and then some still not very well developed parts like being there, even though it's improved over other series, helps for future webtoons to become even better. Since I feel like webtoon in general is really like fresh out of the block scene right now, especially in stuff in comparison to like manga and anime. So I feel like we're watching early days of a toddler and its journey becoming a person. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
for now, it's going into a not bad, better direction.
For me, my biggest thing about webtoons is it feels so like it's like a kid like who really likes candy, thinks it's like the best food in the world type thing, and so they just are eating a bunch of candy, as opposed to being
Yeah.
like you need to grow up a little, and like sure candy is good occasionally, and it's like one thing, but it's like you need to expand your palate a little, and I think most webtoons, Oravi included, feel like you're just indulging in some sugary trash, not even
Almost like a
bad.
guilty pleasure kind
Yeah,
of
and,
thing.
and it's like webtoon specifically suffers from it a lot. But
Yeah, no, I hear you.
for me, it's like I really wish. And another thing about ORV is it kind of wants to do more as of now, but I don't see a way for it to do it just yet, or really at all. I think the show is, or the manga or webtoon is going to struggle. But we'll see. I will read more of it. I'm not discouraged by it at this point, but I am just like not impressed.
No, I hear you. And we'll elaborate more in future when you read more or when we have time to read more. But that being said, if you're someone who likes solo leveling, who likes game system premises, kind of like power fantasy MC style manhwas or webtoons, then I'd say give it a shot. I feel like it's a better candidate of being what it is.
It's a better candidate, yes.
And yeah, just try it out. That being said, our last,
and this is not going to go as long as I listed.
Yeah.
I can assure you
No, I know.
that was older.
section is, as you all would know, is our seasonal updates or seasonal animes that we are trying to be up to date.
So y'all, this month was pretty rough. I did keep up with some, but I'm gonna let you know. We're gonna get through this section real quick because I did not keep up with all of them.
I did keep up with one too.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through them real quick, and also say this section will definitely be longer, by quite a bit next episode.
Yeah.
Because fall 2025 is going to end, and I'm going to finish the shows I want to finish and talk about them more in depth.
Yep.
And then I will preview some, not a lot, of shows for winter not winter. Is it winter? No, I think it's summer. It's summer that's ending, 2025. Fall that's starting.
We're getting
Yep.
into.
But yeah, so with that season change, I'm not watching that much next season. So I will spend more time catching up this season and then telling you what I'll preview for next season, but not watching any of it, and then maybe watching the stuff for next season. But that being said, I'll talk about where I am with some of the shows that I've mentioned and ones I definitely did not catch up on, despite me saying I was going to. So, Dandadan Season 2. It's exactly what I said last month. There's really not a lot of progress, but it's the same thing. There's action moments, I sleep. When there's slice of life, I'm happy. And yeah, it's really as simple as that. I think the fights that have been happening so far have been very mindless. They're creative, but they're a bit mindless, and I kind of wish that there was a bit more to it. Again, Dandadan's a show that has so much potential that consistently reminds you it's a shonen, and it makes me sad. Gachiakuda, another show that does this, but is definitely more front-facing shonen. I'm not caught up on it, I won't lie. I lost a lot of motivation basically after the first fight scene because of how shonen it plays out, with how a side character gets fucked over, with how Rito's just angry. I think a lot of that discouraged me. I will come back to it and finish it for this season.
I'll force him.
I will finish this season out and talk about basically all of these shows, except maybe one, that I will try to. It's literally nothing personal. I just haven't gone far into it. So I couldn't say I guarantee I'm going to finish it. But yeah. Next one is Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus Season 2. It's been really great so far. Again, it's a lot more held back and reserved. But I've heard it gets a little bit more intense, but I was kind of waiting because it's basically on one last arc before the season ends, and I was kind of waiting for that whole arc to come out. So I've been holding on to that, but again, I will talk about this. This will probably be legitimately a 30-minute section next time. This is going to be at most maybe a 10-minute, probably not. Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Literally nothing new. It is a very slow romance anime, and that's good. That's a very good thing. However, if you're like me, who has seen a lot of romance anime, you've seen this before, so I think a lot of the very high reception it's getting, a lot of the positive feedback that people are giving it is because maybe they haven't seen an anime that is similar to it.
Okay.
I just think that it's a very safe show that's doing certain things better, but it's not groundbreaking.
Okay.
Lord of the Mysteries. You know how I said I was gonna watch that show? Didn't. By the
Yeah,
way.
me neither. By the way, we were hyped. We were both hyped for that one.
We will really try to lock in
With the 30K frames as well. But
it's just okay. Low key, it's because it's kind of just action slop low key. But and then the real show that I'm really sorry about is Summer Hikaru Died, because it's actually probably a good show. I'm sure Summer Hikaru Died is probably a really good show. It might be a bit too sobby, but it's probably a good show.
I feel like this. I think this was one of the shows that we watched like the trailer together as well, and then we were like, "Oh yeah, we gotta see what's up with this."
And then three anime a month hit, and you're like, "Damn, anime got hands."
Yeah, I'm not watching. I'm living anime. At this point.
Basically. And then the show that for some reason I'm caught up on, for no reason, is Secrets of the Silent Witch. Okay. And let me just say, I've talked about this before.
Oh, in the notes I see it.
Yes. Secrets of the Silent Witch. Oh my god, if a character is sad, I don't need to see them crying every scene. If they're anxious or whatever negative emotion, you don't need to force them to cry every scene. It is insane how much, because it starts in episode 1 through 7. It's not too bad. Mm-hmm. And then I think it's episode 8. There's a scene that happens, and then she's just sobbing half the episode. And then after that, she's just sobbing every other episode. And I'm like, guys, please, there's a way to do this where a character can be sad or anxious or have all these weird mixed up feelings. The problem with Secrets of the Silent Witch is it could have just been a comfy show, but it's trying to make this character face their anxiety and their past and all these things.
And Dororo.
And the only answer it has is she just starts fucking crying. She just starts crying and has to get saved by someone. And I'm just like, oh my god, it's just so exhausting. My comfy show ended up just becoming, I'm not comparing it to Dororo because I think it's better than Dororo. I think I'm comparing it more to Anohana, but it's worse than Anohana.
Oh my god,
because Anohana at least has a core emotion that I think is better. But it's the same type of you're crying every episode. I feel nothing because of it, because they're she will have multiple cry sessions in the same episode.
Yeah, when you repeat it that much, it just doesn't make you feel anything.
Because there's more complexity and depth to sadness.
Yeah.
C86 than just crying.
See, guys,
Yeah.
He said yes, and this is in record.
I'm tired, bro. Oh my god. But dude, that's the thing. Is this is the difference between actual good writers and people who know how to appease dumbasses. Low-key. Secrets of the Silent Witch is for an audience that just wants not slop, but really basic shit. Really, really basic shit. And it's so annoying because of that, because I think the premise is fun, the animation, not the animation. The art is nice, the music is good, but it just repeats itself over and over again, and that is exhausting. So, on to your anime. Which ones are you keeping up with? I think I know which one.
Funnily enough, I'm not keeping up with Kaiju no 8, even though I wanted to. I'm way ahead of anime, and I didn't have time to watch that between everything else. But I did keep up with Water Magician. I did try to read manga, by the way, y'all. Art is not really promising on that one. That being said, I'm watching the anime. In comparison to the source art,
it's night and day, bro.
They did a great job with the anime.
Night and day.
Characters actually look like well-designed characters. I'd say it's going pretty good. From what I know, let me double check that real quick, actually. But I'm thinking. Let's see here. Yeah, it has as of right now has one more episode to go.
I think that's most of the season. That's why that's why I was like, oh man, this is an awkward time to talk about season.
Yeah, but that being said, it was pretty nice. The art is pretty. The animation is not so much. So I feel like I gotta throw that out. It's a distinction. The looks of the characters, the color choices. When you see a scene, basically the background almost looks like water art in a sense. Like all that stuff is really pretty and satisfying, but action scenes and anything that requires higher grade of animation is not very much so. Still, again, it's satisfying. It's an easy, like lighthearted watch. I would recommend it as like a, if you want to see something more chill, like
You had a bad
I
day. You just need to watch something.
exactly like to unwind. I usually watch this type of pretty looking like lighthearted animes like when eating or doing something. So for that, it's pretty on point. It's nice and it still kind of piques your interest here and there, making you wonder what's gonna happen next because you can't read the manga because how it looks. So you have to watch the show. But yeah, so maybe that's why I actually followed it because I couldn't go to the source, so I had to wait for the next episode. But yeah, that's what I kept up with. That being said, I use this term a lot. That being said, our next show plans, episode 4 shows are gonna be
Summertime Rendering, which, fun fact, out of all of the shows I've recommended, every single one I would rate over a 9, or at least a 9 minimum. Summertime Rendering, from what I've seen actually, I would give it maybe above an 8.5. So this is the lowest recommendation, and I haven't finished the show. So this is going to be weird. It's going to be very weird. But I do really enjoy what I saw, and this is a good time for me to actually finish the show. But for your forced watch,
it's gonna be Psycho Pass.
not all of it.
Not all of it. Yeah, we have to highlight that detail. We're only focusing on season 1 because I feel like they unfortunately don't do a great job after season 1. There's a dip in the storytelling. Like I wouldn't say the same thing for some other stuff in terms of production, I guess, but we're sticking to season 1. The reason I picked, and if you all haven't noticed till now, I usually don't choose these shows because they're high ratings, but they have something that might pick interest.
I think Psycho Pass
the
is decently
viewer.
high rated. I could be wrong.
Yeah, coming to that, Psycho Pass, well, Dororo was high rated as well, but I'm not picking them because they're high rated.
I'm not picking shows because they're high rated either. I rate them high personally.
Yeah, it's just that there's stuff that intrigues me and I feel like intrigues people who watch them. And for Psycho Pass, I feel like it touches really real, almost like 86 kind of problems that are happening or going to happen. And it's an interesting way that they're executing those issues or us seeing the execution of that premise in a sense. Kind of want to get your thoughts about, that. And then our shared watch is going to be an anime called Girls Last Tour.
Yeah, it's surely a happy show with that kind of name.
Yeah.
Sounds really fun.
I didn't come up with this one. Jared did. He told me the name, and I searched it up on Mal, and I did not see anything but the cover art. And I was like, this is going to mess us up, right? And he was like, yep.
I mean, probably. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it's not like that bad, right?
Well,
Pictures taken before disaster.
I'll tell you this. The art looks like Made in Abyss.
Yes.
And that if you all know what Made in Abyss is, that should give you an idea about the possible outcomes of this shared watch. But we will talk about that next episode. And yeah, that being said, we will continue Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint.
Yep.
Maybe something I'll encounter that's crazy will pop up. I don't think it will, to be honest.
Yeah, there's a chance it flops, but it's really unlikely. I
unlikely.
probably want to get further into ORV so I can just say more about it, because this episode I was like, I have opinions, but I'm very well aware they're not informed opinions.
Yeah. So with that, this is officially the end of our episode 3. Thank you, everyone who stuck with us for this almost 2.5 hours, if not more, episode. And see you next time on episode 4.
Play Trails in the Sky first chapter remake.
I guess.
Bye.
Bye.